I bought a new house. New to us, at least. The house is 60 years old and comes with all the wonderful trappings of an older home. Damaged walls, dirty closets, a leaky roof, and a group of mice. The thing that annoys me the most, though, is the growth chart of the previous residents' children. On the wall of the master bedroom closet are successive tick marks, in pen, not pencil, because they were horrible people who had no respect for their home. Each one was named and dated. Timothy, 1083. Krabby, 585. My husband entered and asked,
"Still staring at that, huh?"
"Kind of." He came close to examine the wall.
Huh. I thought the previous owner only had 2 kids.
Yeah, she did. So?
Well, why are there 3 names?
What do you mean? David walked over and pointed to a tick mark. It was one of the shortest ones, only a few feet off the ground, marked not with Timothy or Krabby, but the name Noah. I scanned the rest of the marks, but there was no other mark for Noah, just the one. Huh, that's weird.
Maybe they had a child that died young.
Oh no, it's probably not that. Probably a friend just wanted to be measured or something.
Maybe.
I already felt badly for the previous owner. She was an older woman, or so we heard, and this house had been in foreclosure when we bought it. Had she lost a child, in addition to a home? Over the coming days, the tick marks weighed on my mind, not only because of the tragedy. David and I were in the midst of trying to conceive our first child, and the tick marks felt like a cruel mockery of how long it was taking. And so, every time I opened the closet to get dressed, my eyes shot down to that one tick mark, Noah. Sometimes I'd be depressed about not being pregnant. Can we paint the closet?
Yeah, I guess. But, it'd be better to do that in a few months when I'm off, or...
Please, it's really bothering me. He sighed.
Okay, sure.
So, we picked up the paint, a beautiful blue color, like the color of the sky in the morning. The next day, after breakfast, I went back up to the bedroom and began emptying the closet. I was halfway through my rack when I saw it. A little bit of red cloth poked out from all the business grays and whites of my wardrobe. I pushed apart the hangers. What? On the rack hung a kid's outfit, a red shirt and denim overalls. It looked old, but not old in a worn way. It was crisp and clean, but the denim was faded, and the style of the shirt looked dated. "David?" I asked. He turned from his clothes, an old t-shirt hooked on his arm.
What?
"What's this?"
Huh. I have no idea. Maybe the owners left it here?
I'm pretty sure the closet was empty when we moved in.
Maybe we missed it.
I think I would have noticed it.
Okay, well, either way, I'll just go throw it out.
I tried to forget about it. We got busy painting the house. I waited a few days to put my clothes back. I didn't want them all to smell like paint. It was on Wednesday, and with clothes on my arm, I swung the door open and froze. There, at the end of the closet where the tick marks used to be, only one remained. Noah, 1079. The others were completely gone, painted over, but that one remained as if it had bled right through the coats of paint. "David!" He was there in seconds.
Are you okay? Carrie!
"The mark, it's still there."
I guess I missed a spot. I'm sorry, I'll touch it up right now.
We were in deep sleep that night when I woke up hearing a creaking noise. I glanced at my phone and saw it was 3:33 a.m. And then I noticed the closet. The doors were open, just a few inches, but it was open and I could see the slice of pitch black among the shadows across the bedroom. Didn't we close it? I started to sweat in fear. Something about it didn't feel right at all. I slowly got out of bed, walked across the room, and the wooden floor creaked a little. I turned on the lights and yanked the doors open. My heart dropped. All over the walls, the name Noah was scrawled across the fresh paint in frenzied strokes of the pen. Noah, 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 stretching up to the ceiling and down to the floor. I leapt back from the closet and began to scream.
We need to call the police. Someone's been in here.
Just calm down.
Calm down? Someone broke in and wrote all over our fucking wall.
David squeezed my hand.
I'm gonna go get you a cup of water, okay?
What? Do you think I'm making it up? Go look in there for yourself.
He didn't reply. He just got up from bed and started for the stairs. And then it happened. In the corner of my eye, I saw the clothing move. The row of dark blazers on the right, just a soft rustle a few feet off the ground, like a child was moving through them. I grabbed the closet door, slammed it shut, and retreated to the bed, shaking, terrified.
David!
I finally screamed. Footsteps on the stairs. He burst back in holding a cup of water, the liquid sloshing in the glass.
What? What happened?
There's someone. I saw the clothes move. Oh God, I swear I saw a child in there.
Okay.
David walked toward the closet, clearly not believing me. I gripped the covers, too scared to move. He swung the door open, half closing it behind him.
Holy shit.
David's voice was slightly muffled.
You're right. There's writing everywhere.
Get out of there! I swear to you, I saw someone in there.
There's no one in here. I'm searching through all the clothes.
His voice abruptly cut off.
David?
Silence.
David!
I pulled myself out of bed. My heart pounding in my chest, I started for the closet. The golden light spilled out of the opening onto the carpeted floor. I stood in front of it, just a few feet from the opening.
David?
I whispered. Not silence this time. A soft giggle. A child's giggle. I pulled the door open. David stood in the middle of the room, absolutely still. His face was frozen in a horrible expression of fear, and down on the floor, oh God, the sight of it brought bile into my throat. Not a ghost child, not a dead body, a woman. She sat on the floor, nestled among our clothes, ragged gray hair tangled around her face, a wild look in her eyes, a pen in her hand. She opened her mouth, but instead of words, instead of speaking to us, she let out a high-pitched giggle, trying to sound like a child. Then she snapped around to us and stared at us with wild blue eyes. She whispered,
"This is home, and you have taken it."
David screamed, and we both came out of the closet, locking it behind us. The cops came after 15 minutes. They took that old woman into custody, and later she was identified as the previous family's housemaid. She and the owner had an illicit affair, the result of which was their son, Noah. But one day, the owner's wife found out the truth, and she killed the boy. The body was never found, though, and the maid lost her mind. She was sent to a mental institution to get looked after. The cops are hoping, once her condition betters, she'll be able to tell them herself what exactly happened with Noah.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. If so, please leave a like. And also, a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you want to support this channel and make this channel reach the 1 million mark, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can change your mind later. Enjoy.
Moving into a new home can be a very stressful situation, especially when you're a single parent. My wife passed away in a car accident several years ago, and Thomas, our son, was too young to remember her. At that time, we had a plan to move together to a beautiful house in a gated community. And to honor her, I worked as hard as I could. And even though it took a few years, I managed to buy it. My mother, Carmen, was a very old woman, so she agreed to move in with us, as she would be a great help in taking care of little Thomas. I took a few days off work and started the move on my own. Thomas was very well behaved, so I could leave him with Carmen while I finished moving. Everything was going great until one night, before going back to my mother's house. Someone rang the doorbell of my new house. "Do you need something, sir?" I spoke to him from behind the door with distrust. There was no way I was gonna let this freak in.
Nice to meet you, new neighbor. I just came to say hello. My name is the Watcher.
The voice of the man behind the door terrified me, but I managed to keep my composure and answer him. "Nice to meet you, Mr. the Watcher. If you don't mind, I gotta get on with the move."
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. My apologies. Before I go, let me give you a warning. This house is very important to my family. My grandparents watched over it for generations. My father did too before he passed away, and my son will do it when I am no longer in this world. But for now, I am in charge. So I must ask you to desist from moving.
Listen, I don't know who the hell you think you are, but I'm not going anywhere. So why don't you get off my property before I get you off, you damn lunatic?
Very well then. Nice to meet you. I'm sure I'll be seeing you and your family soon.
Furious at this response, I inserted the key in the door, unlocked it, and confronted this person. "What did you just say?" But when I opened the door, there was no one there. This person had already left. A few days later, my family and I moved in. Thomas was very happy with his new house, but no matter how much time we spent there, I wasn't going to forget about the encounter with this guy. As the days went by, strange things began to happen. I felt I was being watched at all times. I saw silhouettes at night and even heard voices in empty rooms. I was the only one in my family that noticed this. Was I paranoid? Or was I just more alert? Whatever the answer, I wasn't going to take any chances, so I set up cameras all over the house. The cameras were connected to my cell phone, so when I went to work, I could see everything that went on in my house. The worst day of my life would come just 3 weeks after I moved in. I was having coffee in my office, as there wasn't much going on that day. Bored, I decided to take a look at the cameras, but something caught my attention. The camera in Thomas's room wasn't working. I looked all over the house for my son, but no camera could find him. I saw Mom in the dining room, so I called her. "Hey, Mom, could you see if Thomas is okay? He's in his room, but the camera isn't working."
You should relax a little, son. Thomas is very responsible. He won't get in trouble.
"I know. I won't bother you with this too often. It's just now that we just moved in." I hid my encounter with the Watcher from her. I didn't want to scare her.
All right, I'll go see if he's okay, and I'll call you. You stay calm.
"Thank you, Mom." I felt more relieved. I could see through the cameras how my mom stood up with difficulty and went to the stairs. Meanwhile, it occurred to me to see if the microphone of Thomas's camera was still working. And to my terror, it was working perfectly.
The house has chosen you, little Thomas. Your destiny could have been another, but the greed of your father ended up marking your destiny.
That was the voice of the Watcher. He was in Thomas's room. Not only could I hear him, but I could hear the faint cries and babblings of a child. Had he done something to my son? I ran out of my office, spilling coffee all over my desk, and with my car keys in hand, I called the police and told them everything. I also tried to call Carmen, but she didn't pick up. As soon as I got into my car, I accelerated with all my strength and looked at the cameras almost without paying attention to the road. The only camera where something was happening was the one on the stairs, where I could see Carmen climbing them slowly. While the camera focused on my mother, I heard my son's babbling and the voice of the psychopath in the background.
You should know that the house has a life of its own. It's a secret that we pass down from generation to generation in my family. The house is angry. The house rejects dirty people like you, your father, and even your sweet grandmother. But don't worry, little one. I know a way to purify all of you. It's the one your father chose, and thanks to him, you can be part of the house forever.
Listening to this psychopath only made me accelerate faster and faster. I needed to save my family. My mother could do nothing against this man. Without realizing I had condemned her too. What was I thinking? I couldn't stop looking at the camera, praying for a miracle to happen, for my mother to escape, or better yet, to somehow save my son first. Not only did a miracle not happen, but another tragedy did. As I was looking at the camera, I heard a loud braking noise outside the car, and when I looked up, my car was colliding with another car. It all happened in an instant, but I immediately realized that it was my fault. The last thing I saw was the glass of my windows shattering from the impact, and a second later, I saw nothing. I woke up in pain in the hospital while a nurse was changing my pillow. When she saw me, she called the police, and within seconds I was accompanied by 2 officers, a woman and a man. What happened? How long was I here?
Calm down, sir. You were unconscious for 3 days. You were involved in a car accident. You were driving very fast. It's a miracle there were no fatalities.
Thomas, what happened to my family? I was on my way home. There was a man in my house.
I know this isn't easy to hear, but neither of them survived. They were both victims of a murderer we caught later that day.
After this, the woman continued to give me the details, but I could no longer hear anything. When I returned home, there was no trace of anything. Neither of the criminal nor of my family. I started to cry, remembering how every time I entered the house, the screams of my son, who, according to the police, died of asphyxiation. Although he had multiple knife wounds, those memories flooded the house. I had lost my cell phone, but I still checked the cameras in my house, and even though I couldn't see my son, I could see how the watcher came out of his room, grabbed Carmen's hair, and threw her down the stairs. Her death wasn't quick, as she had some time to drown in her own blood. At the end of the video, the man stood there waiting for me at the top of the stairs, but when he saw the police enter my place, he surrendered without resisting. As soon as I finished watching the video, I looked out the window. There he was. The watcher was staring at the house from the sidewalk. I quickly noticed that it was not the same person, despite wearing the same mask. He was much shorter and thinner. What the psychopath told me was true. When he was gone, his son would replace him. I couldn't take it anymore, so I went to the house where my mother used to live. I thought about taking my own life several times, but I decided I still had a lot of fight left in me. I bought a lot of gasoline, and with some matches, I went to the house where everything had happened. No one else was going to set foot in that damn place.
The story you're about to see is inspired by true events. This happened in the early days of our marriage. My husband and I were looking for a comfy house in a good neighborhood. It was hard to find the perfect home, but we got lucky. At least, that's what I thought. The house was more than beautiful. A 2-story house with a pool in the backyard and a small garden in the front. We threw a small housewarming party, inviting our close friends and family. My husband, Marlon, loves taking videos and pictures at any social events. That day, too, he roamed around the backyard, holding his camera and recording all the guests. Everyone danced, got drunk, and played volleyball in the pool. Marlon and I were sitting in the corner, watching everyone feel so happy. He kissed me on the forehead. We were excited about our new life together. My friends forced Marlon to carry me inside the house. Marlon did, and my brother took a video of us. We all had dinner after that, and everyone left. I changed into my pajamas, and we called it a night. The next morning, when I woke up, I saw Marlon's note stuck to the bedstand.
Didn't want to wake you up. I had breakfast. I'll see you at dinner, love. Take care.
A smile came to my face, and I got down from the bed. I went to the kitchen, made some bread, bacon, and eggs, and poured a glass of orange juice, then sat down on the couch to eat. The house felt so quiet. It was morning, and I could see the birds flying in the sky from the window, but I couldn't hear them. The house felt like a different world altogether. Suddenly, I heard a low thud in the bedroom. I went to check and found Marlon's camera on the floor. It must have fallen off the bedstand. I went back to the couch and started playing the videos of our party. At one point, the house entering moment popped up, and I played it. Marlon was carrying me in his arms, and I was laughing. The door of the house was open behind us, and suddenly, a close shiver ran down my spine. I paused the video and rewound it a little. And there it was, a weird-looking woman figure peeking behind the door, and then it disappeared in a wink. It looked very creepy because her hairs were like sharp needles and her eyes were glowing in the dark. Suddenly, the window opened on its own and a gust of wind blew into the house. I ran to close the window and saw big, dark clouds in the sky. Soon, a thunderstorm, followed by wild rain, began. The atmosphere got even creepier. I told myself it might be some friend pulling a prank on us. I finished my breakfast and decided to organize the house. The entire afternoon went by working. I went to take a bath before starting dinner. The storm was over by then, but it was still raining. As I turned on the bathroom tap, instead of water, a slimy, rancid liquid came out.
Oh my God.
I quickly closed the tap. Whatever came out was lying on the bathroom floor. I could spot a cluster of black hair in that dump. Feeling awful, I came out of the bathroom and called the plumber. By the time he fixed the tap, Marlon was already home.
Hey, what's going on?
Don't even ask.
He hugged me, and I told him everything.
Well, you've found the solution, so the problem's gonna be solved. How about we order from the new Chinese place around the block?
You are a sweetheart. We smiled and kissed. The plumber left, and things got back to normal. After dinner, I went to take my bath. Clear water came out of the tap and filled the bathtub. I felt relaxed lying in it. As I picked up my glass of wine to take a sip, something fell from the ceiling into my glass. It was a furry, ugly thing, and it was a mouse.
Ah!
I screamed and jumped out of the bathtub, spilling the glass into the tub. The mouse was dead, and it had no head. The headless body of the mouse floated on the tub, and Marlon rushed into the bathroom, hearing my scream.
What? What happened?
Where did that come from?
Oh, God! What is that? A headless mouse?
There's something wrong with this house.
Come on, Shelly. Calm down. It's just a mouse that somehow chopped off its head.
Stop joking. I'm serious. There's someone in our video, too.
Now you are overthinking, I guess.
I can show you.
I grabbed his camera and showed it to him. Marlon wrote it off, saying it was someone at the party, and we fought, and I decided to sleep on the couch. It was probably around 2 or 3 a.m. when I felt pressure on my neck. As I opened my eyes, I saw Marlon standing next to the couch, holding a knife in one hand and choking me with the other. His eyes were white, like he was possessed by something evil. I gagged and screamed.
Marlon! Marlon!
He woke up from the trance and let me go immediately. He was shocked to notice a knife in his hand. I started crying.
What were you? You were trying to kill me?
No. No! What the? How did I get here?
Before I could explain, a demonic, low growl took place. And I did not doubt that the sound came from my dear husband, Marlon. His body language changed in a wink. He became still, facing the ground. He started breathing heavily while making that repressed growl.
Marlon, what is happening to you?
I got up from the couch and slowly backed toward the main door when a shadowy woman figure rushed out of Marlon's body and came running at me. Her eyes were glowing in the dark and her hairs were sharp like needles. I saw Marlon collapse on the floor and the shadow passed through me before I could even move a step. I felt excruciating pain all over my body. Blood came out of my nose as if some vein had popped inside my brain. Marlon was gagging while his body trembled in shock. I somehow walked to him and called out to him. After 10 minutes or so, he finally woke up. It felt like we had both survived a near-death experience. We left the house and went to stay with Marlon's parents, who lived close by. The next morning, when we came back for our stuff, we found the house in a mess. Everything was broken, shattered, torn into pieces like a tornado had gone through here. We left the house with whatever was remaining of our stuff and called the bank. The house came to us through a bank auction, so we never knew anything about its history. What the bank told us still gives me nightmares. The house was built by a man named Dalton Canick, who lived there with his wife, Paris. Paris was a suspicious woman with extreme anxiety. She would always think her husband was having an affair. The suspicion grew into an obsession, and one night, Paris murdered her husband in that house. When the cops came to arrest her, she had slit her wrists in that bathtub. Marlon wanted to sue the bank for false information, but I stopped him. The bank got us a new house, bigger than that one, at the same price as the concession. We are quite happy here, but whenever I think about that night and that shadowy figure, I get panic attacks. The fact that the evil entity of Paris won't allow any married couple to live in that house happily scares me to sleep. I hope no one ever buys that house.